Hello to my beautiful family of light. Yes, that means you. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Claudia, and I'm happy to have you here, whether you're returning or a first-time visitor. This channel is all about my life and going from clueless about having a soul to actually becoming aware that it really is a real thing and that there are benefits and gifts contained in that knowledge. And so I'm telling stories about my life and going from that clueless place to awareness. And so I'm going to pick up today where I left off, and on let's see, it was January, I think the 25th or 26th, let's see, 26th, I spoke about my brother's death and returning, excuse me, to my life in the Rocky Mountains of Wyoming, and feeling so disconnected, so disjointed, not sure why I was out of sorts. I mean, death wasn't unknown to me, and I have no fear of it. And that's because I took my mom to the other side, so I kind of know what's over there. Anyhow, this is me trying to figure out what's going on, and where it leads isn't a pretty picture. So I'm not really dealing with the death of my brother. That was a beautiful passage to me, but I was unsure of myself. I felt like a rudderless boat, or a boat without a sail or oars or whatever it is in the summer. And now this is spring of 93 when I returned, April of 93 when I returned to my hometown, my current hometown. But I really struggled to find what was going on. There was a bit of an agitation. More so, I felt like I wasn't solid. I had been solid up to this point about, why I was there and what I was doing, and I was certainly learning a lot about myself, and was expanding because I was on my own for the first time really in my life. And so, all of that happening, my job felt like it was disintegrating. My relationship with my boyfriend completely fell apart. And here I am, not quite knowing what's going on. And deep down, here's what I wrote. I said, my love and companion seemed lost to me forever. I had no explanations for what had happened in our relationship, and I knew somehow that I'd been a trigger to something within himself that he was battling, and the notion that I had actually caused his erratic and destructive behavior kept cropping up, like I was to blame. And but deep within, I knew I wasn't. In fact, there came a point where I stopped even thinking about or speculating about that after I wrestled with myself over that. And I realized that, when I divorced my husband, one of the things that I stopped doing was speculating, questioning, thinking that I was to blame and coming up with all the reasons and what I'd done and why. I stopped doing that. I figure if I have something going on, that I need to approach it directly. If I've got, if you're upset with me, I want to know why. If I'm upset with myself, I want to know why, and I want to dig into what that is. So I just quit speculating. I hurt like hell, and everything was not going right, and but I favored the truth over not knowing, and it was easier to just stop the imagining of the fearful stuff and to just move on without knowing. If he wanted to come and tell me what was happening, I'd have been an open, sit there and until a week. If it took a week to get it out of him, that would have been great. but I was full of unrest and unease. That's really the point at this time. So the loss of my dearest friend, you know, at that time had me feeling alone and isolated, and even amongst friends. So you can imagine, right? You lose somebody you've been in such close, intimate connection with, and so close to, and then all of a sudden, whoop, they just are gone. And nobody said goodbye. There was no closure. And so, you know, one minute I'd be up and positive, and the next minute I'd be down. And finally I just said, I'm not going to do that. So that summer, after school let out, this is 93, I worked for a river trip company, but found it difficult to concentrate, and even on the most routine tasks. I didn't have a lot to do, but my mind just could not focus. And absent-minded, I found myself having, you know, missed a critical picture taking opportunity for that. That's a job you're getting paid for, things like that. It was the third summer that my son, a junior now in high school, showed up, came for his visit. And when he came and I arrived at the airport to pick him up, lo and behold, he'd brought his girlfriend. So realizing my options were, you know, and I was shocked. I was a little upset because that's our time. But I realized too, he's growing up, and, you know, he's showing me now he's making decisions on his own. And so I could either send him back, right, or bite the bullet and just enjoy his company, shared company that it was. And so not wanting to miss a single moment with him, because our time was brief in between our visits anyway. What felt like a whirlwind tour over a couple of weeks truly was. The three of us hiked. We did lots of things that we normally do. Lots of times I let them go off and do what they wanted to do so they could explore. I took them on adventures. We went to, there's lots of dinosaur fossils here. There's a marvelous, incredibly amazing medicine wheel up in the Bighorn Mountains. And, you know, I just gave them plenty of free time to explore. But once again on my own in August, after they left, word came from my landlady that the house that I was staying in had been sold. And so can you see what's happening here? You know, I did not at the time connect anything spiritually here. I did not realize or recognize what was happening in terms of this life that I'd been living was systematically crumbling all around me, and everything was shifting, but I didn't really see it. And when she said it was being sold and I needed to move out by the 1st of October, I took myself for a weekend drive, spending a night away and saying, well, what are you going to do? You know, I really had no intention of leaving a state, of going away from where I was. I had come to love the climate, the incredible, spectacular beauty, the diversity, even the culture I was becoming accustomed to. And by the time I hiked Jenny Lake in Jackson, Wyoming, I knew that I still hadn't found a place to move. And when I first told my friend, who was a neighbor, that I needed to move and I didn't exactly know what I was going to do, I'd looked at other rentals. They were just absolutely terrible. And she told me she had a basement that I could stay in. It had a bedroom and a little small living area, really kind of a pass-through out to the outdoors. And I could come upstairs and use the bathroom and the kitchen and that sort of thing. And so it wasn't very appealing. However, I didn't want to go, and I really wasn't. I wasn't asking anybody. I wasn't asking the universe. I wasn't asking my source. I was just determined to stay, and I guess make the best of it. So I packed up, moved all my stuff into a storage locker, and moved in downstairs. And by December, so we have to talk about the winters now. I was wearing my, I can't think of the name of the boots, but they're really cold weather, snow and ice boots for, like 50 below. They're boots that you go out in to keep yourself safe and warm. By then, I'm indoors without any heat, having a small mattress to lay on, and layers of down stuff, and a lamp, and I'm bundled up. At one point during December and January, all you can see is this little mouth and a little cold air coming out, and just tiny slits of eyes, because I was so wrapped up. But I still did not. I was determined. That I wasn't going to freeze to death, and I wasn't going anywhere. But I can tell you that by January, I was saying, you want me to leave, and I don't want to leave. Why do I have to go? And so now I'm arguing, and by February, I'm thinking, can we make a deal here? Can we please, let's make a deal. I thought every day, as long as, and I mean, the snow is piled up. You can't even see out the windows. The ice is this thick, and I'm sitting there trying to write, and my fingers are frozen. You can't uncover anything because it's not warm. And I can go upstairs and visit with my neighbor. I finally, in the summer that year, I went back to Washington, and in Washington I didn't do work for a river company or any other work during that summer, other than I went home. I stayed with a brother and his wife. Actually, I got a couple of weeks with everybody, but I helped a brother with a house he was building. And, there were adventures there. One morning I was out staining boards, and a little brown bear came around the corner. And of course we both got scared, and I scrambled up some scaffolding, and he just stood there, for a minute, and then went off back into the woods, and so, a little fun stuff like that. But I couldn't really justify staying there anymore in Wyoming. And so when it was time for me to go back to work and back, to school, I had a pretty wonderful kind of a thing happen. Now this is now late summer 1994, and I returned from Washington. I know I'm not supposed to stay. And if you can understand what I'm saying, is when you're swimming upstream, and in my case, the universe takes, I'm going to just say extreme measures, I think, because it says you're supposed to know by now when I tell you to do something. Honestly, I was fighting it because I didn't want to. This time I didn't want to go. But when you're swimming upstream, these things are going to happen. My job was falling apart, and I knew I was going to have to leave. I knew that the year I came back. So a whole year and a half has passed, and I'm just resisting, right? I'm in resistance, totally. My relationship immediately falls apart. So the two things that I felt were holding me there were no longer valid. I had a job, but it was totally a mismatch. We were no longer in harmony with each other. And the thing that kept me there was that where was I going to go next? I mean, I didn't even know to ask at that time. I had not a clue. And so everything is caving in around my ears, and I just don't want to go. I liked what was happening. But by the time the summer, I got through the summer and had all that time to myself, staining boards and helping with various things and visiting family and whatnot, I knew inside here I could not stay. And so that's going to be what happens. That'll be my next video, is that I'll let you know what happens as I finally say I have to let go and do the next, whatever is next in line. So that's the message this time, is the signs along the way are pretty darn clear. And I'm living proof that you don't want to go up against them for too long, because things will disintegrate around you, including yourself. Your health deteriorates too. So thank you so much for joining me. I just love it when you come and I get to tell these stories, but you know it isn't about my story. You get to see a little humor and maybe some drama in there, but it's about you identifying your own situations in which you're not on solid footing. You're not happy. You're not doing what really inspires you and has you feeling good. And so those are some signs along the way. So you know by now that I love you this much. These arms are wrapping themselves around you in a warm, loving embrace around this planet and all of its people and all of the living things here, whether it's trees or fish or birds of the air, and even the bugs, which I'm not too fond of some, but anyhow, I still have to know that it's all part of God's creation, and so are we. So until I see you in the next video, be well, stay safe, be happy, and remember, you are way more than you think you are. And until I see you in the next video, remember that.